Welcome to the Toffee TV Podcast. I think it's like episode 18. We haven't done it for a few weeks.
Yeah,
Christmas. We had the winter break.
I did, especially.
You definitely did.
There's rumours we fell out. I didn't think so. But
no, but that's what, that happens in the press. And
when
there's a natural pause for other issues, people fill the gap with their own narrative.
And also, Ped not being on keeps that narrative going, so I like it, yeah.
There you go. So there is. So the split might be between you and Ped, not me and you, quite clearly. Ped is actually the technical director today. He's sat where Billy normally is, because Billy's decided to go back to Shrewsbury and do a bit of
He got a replay with Bristol Rovers.
Well, that was delighted. Yeah.
He's been out in the aisles since they got that replay, so yeah, fair play to Bill.
Yeah, I mean, but we need to talk about Sunday. I don't really want to, but we need to.
Yeah, we do. I was there. I went for work. I was in the main stand at Liverpool. Great view, by the way, but God, it was. I suppose I wasn't there to concentrate on Everton, so I did notice the usual number of Everton flaws that I'd usually notice, but the midfield was just an absolute disaster in every sense of the word. I was watching Curtis Jones, who at 18 never really played men's football, based off the freedom of the park. Now, don't be wrong, Everton showed in the first half that due to the first team players playing, they had a little bit more quality in certain aspects about them. But just overall, we got outplayed by a team of young lads and second stringers. It was embarrassing, really.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, there's a narrative going around that the under-18s beat us when the average age of Liverpool was 2 years younger than Everton, and Everton started with 4 players 30 and over. Liverpool had 3 and
three there, and Milner, who's been off 10.
And Milner, who was 9 minutes. So age-wise,
yeah,
it
but
wasn't.
Harvey Elliott, I know he's only 16, 17. He's not really a 16, 17-year-old. He plays as if he's like a 20-year-old. He's been in age above teams for years. So it's not like any plays for the under 23. So again, one player being 16, he is not an under 18 player.
But he did have a few kids, didn't he?
He did, and most of them impressed. That it wasn't that impressed with the centre-back. And again, Nathaniel Phillips, I was watching him closely. We didn't put him under any pressure apart from the first 10 minutes. So, his position was awful. Jumped in front of others again. We just didn't put enough pressure on these players. Against kids, the first thing you should do, and the manager, I'm probably sure said it, is put them under pressure. They don't want to be under pressure in them games. Use your nous, but we just didn't.
I mean, the first half, we didn't. I don't think at any time we had control of the game. I think that's the first thing that we have to say. There was never a time in the game where Everton were in control of it. But to say that, we did have the better chances. They didn't really have any chances. They had one that was offside, which was Origi. I mean, he didn't give it offside, but he was offside. Good save by Pickford. Other than that, they didn't really have anything. Whereas we had a few clear-cut chances.
Point blank, yeah.
Mason Holgate's header off the free kick he should have scored.
Yeah.
He had to head it down. It's a goal. Simple as that. We had Dom's shot that the goalie saved, and I thought Richarlison should have scored the one that got squared back to him. And we had a few other opportunities that we blew, or Dom put one wide when he should have laid Sidibe in.
Yeah.
And a couple of other things that went across the goal. Again, he tried to dive and header when he didn't need to. He just took a step away from that one backward step. He'd have had a free header. And we went in at half time, 0-0, but feeling like we should be 2 up here.
Yeah.
And I suppose from that aspect of it, it's got to be a psychological thing, surely, at Anfield. Surely.
Up to that point, though, you go in at half-time, don't be wrong, we didn't play great, but even so you had the better chances. You've got to take your chances to win at Anfield. Look at it, they haven't been beat there in, 2 years, is it now? Yeah. So you have to take your chances there, and we didn't. So going at half-time, obviously, feel disappointed, but there's still hope for the second half. And in the second half, it was just nothing.
It was terrible.
And there is a psychological element. It can't be, because this is now, 21 years. Different players, different managers, different players of different cultures, different mindsets. And they just can't, they all just shrink there. They all just go into the shell. It has to be psychological now. Whether Everton needs to get a sports psychologist on the case, or they need to go, just do an animal slaughter. I don't really condone that, I was joking, but just something to get the hoodoo off our back, you know what I mean? It's bad now, 21, and basically, Liverpool put 11 cones out, and we probably still struggle to break them down. That's how the mental block is there, and, people obviously thought with Carlo Ancelotti coming in, he hasn't really had any time to do anything.
No.
You know, there's too much this is what people need to temper their expectations slightly, in the sense that this week, when we're recording, this is the first week he'll have a number of days on the training ground.
Yeah.
We can start influencing his philosophy on them, which will help them. But we should have at least got a draw at the very least out of that game based on the chances we had. But, you know, after the most disappointing thing for the fans, I think, is the manner after the goal winning, in which we just capitulated, and they were giving the olays, you know, they were passing it around like, you know, we weren't there, and just the efforts of some of the players. I think, you know, the fans, after seeing Doug Ferguson turn it round in that manner, and then only a couple of weeks later, certain players are back to playing their old tricks. It's disheartening.
But that's what those players are, though, aren't they?
The fraudsters, the cheats, aren't they?
You can go on. I sat here and took, you know, a bit of stick off you and Ped with my defence of Marco Silva at times, but when I put it on the players and said he can do what he wants, but if them players don't do it, and, you know, Dunk got them to run around and look interested, although ironically enough, a couple of the players, the suspects, weren't in Duncan's team, or, you know, were injured or whatever, but for them to just revert back to type tells you what kind of players they are. It's it was the exception rather than the rule when Duncan had them running around. Their rule is to perform very similar to the way they did in that second half, and I'll tell you why I feel like it's that, because it's been like that for a while. Yeah. Even under Marco Silva.
I think some of them know that they're not going to be at the club much longer, and I think a lot of them just don't care, unfortunately. And this is the situation Everton are in, is that they're trying to turn around the squad, but we need to, because of injuries and lack of depth in certain positions, we're relying on players who we shouldn't have to rely on. Yeah, like you know, Fabian Delph was brought in as a backup centre midfield to provide leadership in the dressing room. He's had to play. I know he's been injured, but he's had to play probably more games than he probably would have expected. Schneidlin at the start of the season, you wouldn't have expected him to get a sniff this season, would you really? No. You know, Sigurdsson, based on last season, yes, okay, we would have expected him to play a number of games because he scored 13 goals last season. For me, he doesn't do enough anyway, but he scored 13 goals, so you expect to be insane. He's just shrank into himself. Let's be honest, he's probably lost a yard or two of pace. Sigurdsson, he's not got the legs anymore, but you should have enough nous and experience where you don't get like completely had off by young lads. I know Lallana was in that midfield, and he played okay, he didn't play particularly, but the other two lads were Chirivella, who is 22 years old, and Everton have been criticised for holding on to players too long. Chirivella's 22, he should have been allowed to Liverpool a couple of years ago. But we made him, I was sitting next to scouts, and they were saying to me, oh, he's looked great tonight, I never expected him to play like that. So there's the type of thing you're looking at. The player they've never seen a performance out of a player, and against Everton, that player is allowed to show his full range of skills, and we should just allow it. The midfield is the major problem, but the culture has to change at the club as well, because you need leaders, and I think, you know, bringing Delph in was one idea, but the leaders need to rise from within. But we need to get rid of the bad eggs as well. And I don't you don't want to accuse people of being bad eggs, but there's a number of instances over the years, and there's obviously, when you watch the team, there's certain players who don't put it all on the line for Everton, and they need to be moved out.
Yeah, I mean, the second half was so disappointing because we didn't raise it at any time. You know, the manager was frustrated. You could see that on the touchline. He made the right subs. Coleman came off, Sigurdsson come off after an hour. Neither had done anything early in the game. You know, Bernard came on, couldn't really get into the game. Moise Keane came on, we didn't give him anything to go after.
Just chasing, really,
he was just running around trying to get involved. We just didn't have anything. What's annoying is, if we'd have played like we did in the first half and had Moise Keane alongside Dom, I think we'd have had some joy. Yeah. Second half, we just left Dom isolated because everything had gone on. I
feel sorry for Ancelotti because he's this is where we'll go back to Marco Silva again. I slated Marco Silva because he didn't ever try and instill his philosophy, and by the time he was going to probably plan to, it was well too long in the tooth. Carlo Ancelotti's trying to do it from day one, which I appreciate. Sadly for him, he just hasn't got, at this point, because of injuries, hasn't got the players, and especially midfield, to get the structure working, because the midfield's the most important part of that system. And without people bridging the gap between the forwards and creating, you've got nothing. And Gylfi Sigurdsson did okay in the first half in terms of on the ball. Again, he goes hard and far too much for me, but Morgan Schneidlin doesn't do anything on the ball except pass it sideways, left to right. And
84% pass accuracy, though.
as I've said before, Liverpool signed the player because even though he had 76%, he was putting the ball in the right areas consistently. So it's more about where you're putting the ball rather than how often.
No, I was just being a bit.
Well, it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's great if you're you're 1-0 up and he's trying to keep the ball and he's trying to see how's the game. Great, but
we just didn't cross.
You look at they wasn't even their best team, but you look at the way they play and you think to yourself, we've got to bridge this gap eventually somehow. And so there's a long way, and they've got obviously a good group of kids coming through, but we should never have got beaten that game. It was just. I
think if we'd have played the same way in the second half as we did the first half, we'd have won the game. I think it's as simple as that.
They look shell shocked at times in the first half because we didn't, as I say, we didn't win control on the game in any manner. When we did break on them,
they were struggling, maybe. And that for me was the overriding disappointment in the second half. That defence they had looked shaky. Obviously, Gomez is a cracking footballer. He always looks like he's got time on the ball for them. And Larouci done all right when he come on. And
bit of pace, bit of athleticism.
The kid at right back, Nico Williams, he done okay at right back. Like you said, Jimmy Phillips' lad struggled a bit, didn't he?
Oh, that's right, he's from Bolton, there's Jimmy Phillips' lad, He was all over the place at the first. He calmed down, but...
but he only calmed down because Everton didn't get him.
So when I was watching Phillips, to be honest with you, I was watching Phillips and I was watching Gomez as well. Gomez keeping tight to Tom, Phillips is defending the space with Charlton, had 6 or 7 yards to run, and I thought this is going to end terribly for him. But we just never exploited that.
And that was it. That was the most frustrating thing for me. And you're right, when we went behind, and it was a cracking goal by Curtis Jones, who I thought had a really good game, to be fair. I thought he looked really comfortable in possession. He looked like he's got good technique about him. He stood out for me. People mentioned Harvey Elliott, who lovely touch and stuff for a 16-year-old lad, nice footballer, but don't know whether he's got real pace to play where they play him, and I don't know. But he's a kid, and we'll see in a few years. Too early to judge. But I thought Curtis Jones was really good for Liverpool. Lallana had a good game as well, and Gomez. But for Everton, when we went behind, I know we were a bit shell-shocked because even though they'd come into it more in the second half, they still weren't really doing anything. They'd had one Origi shot from 30 yards.
No, they weren't.
And other than that, they had a lot of possession. They passed it round nicely. But what I was impressed with Liverpool was the way, even though it wasn't their first team,
just assimilated
they played the same way. They were high press,
which makes it easier for them to step in the team, because if they're playing that under 23, under 18, under 16, they know exactly the position they need to be in. Are they set up when they need to transition?
Klopp said that, but I did say this on the final word, was that 4 years ago they couldn't have played a team like that because Everton would have wiped the floor with them.
No, they couldn't. So they're in a situation now, the confidence built.
So it's built.
The philosophy's built into the club,
and all that. So that's the one caveat I'll look at with Everton and go,
a couple of years, maybe.
Start of the process. Ancelotti's in now, so we just got to go right with it and go with it because he's a good manager. Well, he's a world-class manager. Let him get his teeth into it. Like you said before, he hasn't even had 2 consecutive days on the training ground with this team.
No, it takes time, so, even Mourinho hasn't really had that long, and he's been in the job since November. So people need that time. I will say, the only thing, Ancelotti didn't have many problems with anything he did. The midfield was what it was. I don't like 4-4-2 for the reasons we see, and that's more personnel-based, I think, is the fact that you can get overawed in midfield by a 3, and that's why 4-4-2 went away at the start of the 2000s, because teams with 3 and 5 in midfield were able to outnumber them in midfield, and I think that's what Liverpool did well. They outnumbered us quite well. Now, if you've got mobile people in there, you make up the gap, and we would have exploited that, I think, but that was the only issue. Mate.
I said to you off before we started this, even before they scored, certainly when Moise Keane come on, we weren't in the game, really, we were doing nothing. I'd have gone 4-2-4. I'd have said, miss the midfield out, bang it long. It's a cup tie. It's not about trying to win possession and pass it around and be the silky football team. Results all that matters at the minute, especially when you've had no time to develop anyone. And Duncan got onto that straight away. It was like, listen, I want to play a possession style football match, but at the moment these players can't do it, and we're not causing the opposition any issues. And that, I think, if we'd have gone 4-2-4 and played right on Liverpool's back four, they'd have crumbled. But we didn't. We just allowed them to keep doing what they were doing. Again, your 2 midfielders. Well, Delph come on for Sigurdsson. That to me was totally the wrong sub.
I get it though, because when he came on against Newcastle, he knitted it all together.
I know, but against Newcastle, we had more control of the game.
No, I agree, but I think that was the logic.
And they were slower.
I think that's the midfield. I think Carlo, which I sensed watching it, was the midfield was getting away from him because the other two, I know Delph's not the quickest, but he gets around better than the other two. But the other two just couldn't get near him.
Well, then maybe what he should have done, if he wanted Delph in there, was left Sigurdsson on and took Walcott off.
Yeah.
And just gone with
4-3-3,
4-3-3 almost, or a 4-5-1, whatever. And just gone, listen, let's win the midfield back and see if we can get a breakaway. And use Richarlison, Keane and Dom.
That's not a criticism because...
It's easy
exactly.
It's easy in hindsight, of course it is.
Because, we're on the touchline, we're not making snap decisions. And of course, you're limited by personnel at the moment. It'd be great if we had, another midfielder to throw in there, a bit more legs.
I just thought he might have put Tom Davies on, just because. And listen, I know Tom Davies, and listen, he'll have the stats, and Tom might be in the red zone, and he's tired or whatever.
I think he does look tired, to be fair.
I still think, though, for that last 20 minutes, at least he'd have carried the ball forward for us. Because Delph sits and just... But
also, Tom's accountable because he's a local lad. He wants to play in that game. He wants to prove it. Now, sometimes they can go against you. But I think sometimes you need those sorts of players instead of players who are going through the motions in the game, shall we say, in that midfield. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to listen. I'm not putting it down to Carlo Ancelotti. Far from it. It's
not.
These players should have been good enough to beat that team.
It's a mentality thing with them. They should have said we're the best team, and they should have expressed that on the pitch. And
you'd expect experienced pros to keep the ball and make kids work, because I remember playing years ago, in youth team matches. I remember playing for Burnley at Melwood, and we were up against Mike Marsh, Nick Tanner, Steve Harkness, McManaman, all players who'd been in Liverpool's team, and they had a couple of players coming back from injury who played in the first team.
Paparazzi's, yeah.
Right? And it was so difficult to get the ball off them because they were experienced pros. And we were younger than them and had the legs. They were just knocking it around us. I remember when I was at Everton training with the first team, and you couldn't get near them because of the experience.
Do you know the positions, yeah?
So we should have been able to do that at the weekend. And Ped said something, and it was right, and it was something I'd thought during the game watching it. It was almost as if we were playing like a League One team or a championship side who had that enthusiasm and that work rate, and we were terrified of losing.
Yeah.
And we just didn't play in that second half.
Which
and they've had more quality, don't get me wrong, but that's that pressure that you see sometimes, which is how cup upsets occur.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. And
Everton don't like being favourites.
No, for anything.
We don't have a WhatsApp group. We often say every time Everton ever expected to do anything. Even the start of the season, I think we could have went top for an hour, wasn't it, or something? We couldn't even do that. That's the unfortunately, until that changes, and obviously having a winner in Carlo Ancelotti, you hope that's one of the things he changes is the culture of the club needs to change.
There's been, just before we finish this first part, there's been a little bit of fallout since we've had the Finch Farm 10 and now a thing.
Aren't they offered to Blood Brothers this weekend?
Possibly, according to sources quite close to us in the technical area. They've been offered petticoats and dream coats ticket. Now, the Finch Farm 10 is a thing. People obviously very disappointed. We've seen at the end only Jibble Sidderby go to the away fans and offer some applause for their support, whether the fans wanted it or not. He was the only one.
I still think the credit to him because you're taking the fire there on your own.
Of course, and the others just walked down the tunnel. We've seen a video of Seamus Coleman and Mason Holgate arguing with, I don't know whether it was an Evertonian or a Liverpoolian when they were walking off, but it was in the tunnel area looking up. It could have been a blue saying that was whatever, or they were arguing with a fan. Stories come out that Duncan had a go at them after the game, and a few of them disagreed and thought he'd give their all. Yeah, fair play, yeah. And then obviously the Finch Farm 10 now have gone there, and fans have, you can look at it two ways. You can go, it's embarrassing doing all that, but the other side of that is these people pay the money. It's the life. They go up and down the country. For some people, all that matters is going to match. It's their money from one week to the other, the next. And if they don't feel like their voice is getting heard, then why shouldn't they go and confront something? Okay, we've seen this in Italy and we've seen it get out of hand in Portugal and stuff like that. But the fans, the fans need to have a right to voice something. And fair play to Marcel Brands. He went and listened to them, and fair play to them lads for fronting it up and going, you know what? Nah, this is enough's enough. And they've gone down and they've felt as though it was necessary for them to put their feelings across to the...
Whether you'd agree with it or not, I know there's obviously an element of Everton fans who'll say it's embarrassing, there's certain fans who agree, which will be in the middle.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, what those fans want and what we all want is the players to be accountable for performance. Now, on the continent, this is more common. You know, you have ultras, and because of their, I suppose, stature within the fan community or the stature within the club, in a lot of cases, especially in Italy, the players are accountable to them because it can affect the player, and the players have to answer to them. And I'm not saying we should be having protests outside Finch Farm every week. However, the players should be accountable for the performances, and you know, these fans have rain or shine. You know, whether it's been a good year or a bad year for them, following them up and down the country. Said to you before, West Ham allocation's been sold out. You know, the players, at the end of the day, the players should show the fans that they care. They're on a lot of, you know, and again, this is an old cliche that they're on a lot of money, but at the end of the day, the fans go, you know, I know the Premier League pays a lot of it, but the fans also contribute to their wages. Without them, they wouldn't be, you know, their image rights, whatever they have in the contracts, they wouldn't be getting, you know, they wouldn't get money from that. I've got, you know, don't be wrong, there's ways and means of doing it. I'm not like 100% going behind the front people at the you know, the security gates and whatever, not, but the players should be accountable, and whatever way you want to make that happen, then I'm all for that.
At the end of the day, listen, it's out there now, and then regardless of whether you agree, disagree, whatever, the players will know that that's a thing now, because it's out in the press have reported it. Whether Marcel Brands went back and reported it, I don't know, but he was big enough to go and sit with them and listen. And you know,
anyone who knows Brands, who's seen him at matches, he's not been happy for many a month.
No, but you know what, mate?
So I think he's not. I don't think he's stupid. He's not going to be giving the club party line to them. I think he understands the fans. I'm not defending Brands because, you know, at the end of the day, but I think he understands. I think I'm glad someone from Everton come out, because in the past the doors would have been shut and the fans would have been outside for hours. But I'm glad the Everton did decide to let them in and have a discussion with them, because at the end of the day, you know, that was unacceptable.
No, well, that's the listen, these, like you've just said it there, these lads go up, and women, lads and girls go up and down the country. You know, we were in Switzerland, there was loads of Evertonians there for friendlies, there was Evertonians in Germany. You know, people spend the money on it, they go, you know, the wages, they get up in the middle of the night, 5 o'clock in the morning, to go to London games at 12:30 and everything. And these players need to know that it hurts us as fans, and those fans, obviously, they didn't go and protest after Man City the other day, did they? They didn't go and protest in games where they feel like Everton have had a real good go.
They played worse than that, and they haven't protested,
but the other day, there was yes, it was because it was Liverpool. Yes, it was because Liverpool wouldn't understand. If that had been a full-strength Liverpool team, we'd have lost 1-0 in a cup time, we could have won it, you'd be devastated.
It wasn't protest when we got beat 2-1 by the other year.
No, but what the thing about it is, it was the feeling of, we just threw the towel in. And I don't think that's ever acceptable for an Everton team to do. And that's why I believe these fans have gone to Finch Farm, to let them players know that, I'm sorry, it isn't acceptable. The one thing that Duncan said, and he said it when he come in and done the interview with us, and he said it in his press conferences when he was the manager, is the least you should do is run yourself into the ground when you've got this shirt on. And can you honestly say you were sat there watching it as a scout, did Everton look like they ran themselves into the ground?
No, I don't think so.
Believe so.
And what I will say is, and I think this is often forgotten now in the age of Sky, the age of Premier League money, is clubs belong to the fans. It's a community thing. With, you know, whether clubs are rich or the poor, up and down the leagues, they're often, they belong to the fans. Now I know Premier League money's become more than ever, but your fans are your most important asset. I know some will call them customers at certain clubs now, but at the end of the day, you know, you fans, you've got to be. You play for the fans. Let's be honest. You've seen it before. The fans get the players up for games as well, so they do respond to the fans. Respond to the fans this weekend against Brighton.
Gotcha. Right, that's part one. That was, we had to get that out. Quite cathartic. That we
had
to get that out. It was grim. But in part two, we're going to be discussing Carlo Ancelotti and his appointment with Andy. Back in a bit.
Thanks for downloading the Toffee TV podcast, but did you know we put all our shows out as podcasts? Head over to patreon.com/Toffee TV EFC and you'll find all the latest shows available as podcasts exclusively for Patreon subscribers. So if you need to find all the latest Everton news, conversations, stats, match previews and match reviews as easily downloadable podcasts at your convenience, head over to Patreon.
Welcome back to the Toffee TV Podcast. Me and the Piv, Andy. Just been discussing the debacle that was Sunday, but let's put that in the bin.
There's been a number of debacles this season.
There has, but listen, this is why I want to put it in the yard bin. Room 101.
Yep.
Nick Hancock's just turned up, took that game, lashed it in the bin.
Yeah, Frank Skinner didn't always present Room 101.
Frank Skinner didn't always present it, Ped, you know. Yeah. So that's out the window. Take that as a, if we can, put it over there where we can't see it. Before Christmas, the last time we were on, we'd be discussing potential Everton managers, and Ancelotti was mentioned. There was a few others, Mikel Arteta, and there was Ten Hag, and a few other people. Yeah. Niko Kovac, all of these names. It was Carlo Ancelotti.
To shock the world, yeah.
Yeah. And he's been in post for 16 days now, and Everton have had 4 games, which is mad. But what are your initial thoughts around the Ancelotti appointment?
So, I know people know, and people brought this up to me before. I know, not that I wouldn't say I didn't want Ancelotti, but he was not my ideal person we would have had, because I'm a person who thinks about the long term, and I think Everton have got a long way to go, and Ancelotti creates expectation, of course, because he's a great manager, one of the best managers of the last 25 years, and maybe Everton haven't got the infrastructure or the resources currently, I don't know what Usmanov's doing, to bridge that gap quick enough for Ancelotti to work. So I think, chasing after ourselves. Anyway, moving on. So now he's in charge. He has my full backing, of course, because at the end of the day, I want Everton to do well. And I've been impressed so far. I think, at the end of the day, it's hard to take... Duncan Ferguson had them playing a particular style of football, not my taste, but it worked because that's what you need to get back to basics. You need to get back to basics. And Ancelotti, first game in, changes it up, better on the ball, dominating possession. It's not easy to do that, and as we've discussed on the previous hour, he hasn't had any time to sort of implement things. So the attack's got better since he came in. Now, don't be wrong, we haven't scored a massive amount of goals, but that'll come. And I think once he gets them on the training ground, we do start learning a bit better, more positional movements, patterns of play further up the pitch, which has been lacking under Marco Silva and previous managers before that. I think we'll be a much better side. And so there is things that are going to work. What I would say to the fans is we need to be patient. This is I know people say we're 5 points off 6th and we're 8 points off or 9 points off 4th. Let's just see how it goes. That's my thing, because I think it benefit Carlo if he's allowed to, not experiment, because obviously that's the wrong word, but he's allowed to build his philosophy, sort which players he likes, which players he doesn't like, and in the summer we can start turning things around, ready to kick on next season. I know fans obviously only think for the now, but I think Everton need to start thinking about next season, when we need to start to kick on nethis season. We'll obviously spend money in the transfer window. I don't know how much that'll be, but I don't think we should be demanding we finish 4th, because I think this is basically an extended pre-season for Carlo in a sense, and I think we'll win games, don't get me wrong, and I think we'll probably get around 6th. I do think that anyway, but we just need to be a bit more patient, because there are going to be certain games where we will lose because the personnel's not right for his system or things won't work.
I mean, we'll carry on with the Ancelotti thing, just in terms of where Everton could aim for this season. You're right, we have to be patient, and expectations should be tempered, but certainly we've seen Manchester City lead 3-1 in the Carabao Cup first leg, so you'd expect them to make it to the League Cup final again. I'd expect Leicester to get past Villa. They haven't played at the time of recording this. I'd expect Leicester to get past Villa. Therefore, the European places drop to 6th. And me and Ped were discussing this on the Premier League show, or the footy show, one of them, that nowadays most teams in the FA Cup are big sides that get there. So invariably, a lot of times Europe is 7th, and Everton is well within. For me, I'd said even when we were doing this in November, October with Marco Silva, if we could get to February and be 4, 5, 6 points behind Europe, I'd be happy with that, because it means we've got something to go at. And I think it really benefits Ancelotti if Everton could get into the Europa League.
In terms of attracting players, it definitely would.
Well, attracting players, but also for people's development, like Anthony Gordon and players like that.
Extra games,
give them the extra game, be able to use the squad. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And you're right, this should be seen now. It's difficult, us as fans, because there's almost that feeling of Groundhog Day, isn't it? Where that's
unfortunately the problem.
We're starting again, and we're starting again.
Project.
And what we have to look at is, we have to look at it 2 ways. I don't know whether you'll agree, or 2 parts of this equation. The one part is the process started when Marcel Brands walked through the door.
Yes.
And so every player he's bought, I believe, is being a good signing. Delph, I'm like that with, but I think it's just because we haven't been able to use him the way we probably wanted to use him and have legs alongside him. So that's a little bit of that to me, the jury's out a little bit on him. But I think in the main, he's bought well. Everton have bought well over the last 18 months. Yes, we should have got another centre-back in the summer, no question about it. And I believe we should have got another centre midfielder and another striker in the summer. They would have been the three areas. But we are where we are. So that's one. For me, that's part one. We're 18 months into that process and he's got those plays. Now can someone with Ancelotti's class mould them into a team or into a squad? And then part two to that is Carlo Ancelotti's game plan, his tactics, positional. But you said something there about you were unsure whether you want them because you're thinking long term. Well, Everton give him a 4.5-year contract because Everton's plan is for him to take us into Bramley Moordock. Me and Ped said when we were meant to talk about Rafa Benitez, if you remember in November, we were saying we felt as though we needed a calm manager just to get Everton on that upward trajectory, but being able to front the club. And I think Carlo Ancelotti can do that. He's the best manager in the world in terms of trophies.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Still, Pep will probably overtake him at some stage.
Pep's younger, of course, yeah.
Because he's younger, but he's won 20 trophies. He's an unbelievable manager. He's an unbelievable player.
Oh, he's an incredible manager and player.
So, it's about what processes can be put in now, isn't it? If we're looking at this as a 4.5-year plan for Carlo Ancelotti, that means, and I was encouraged, I don't know whether you were to hear about him, saying about the academy as well. He wants to get into the academy.
I hope so, because I think Brands needs a bit another voice next to him to get change in there, and that's, I know things are changing already, but that was very good because he's thinking
long term there.
Because it offset whether we have 10 players make the first team or 2 do, but we sell the other 8 for good money. It all helps. This is what Man City,
FFP,
Chelsea, Liverpool all do. It helps. You know, that's why Liverpool played Nathaniel Phillips the other day. I think they're hoping to get him a move somewhere that'll bring some money in. They'll be able to use that for something else. And that player trading, that's what helps FFP. And yeah, I was glad to hear him say that because you know, usually some managers don't talk about that because they don't. And I think Carlo understands that probably he's in a secure position. He's not Marco Silva, who's 4 or 5 games away from the sack. Everton made a big investment in Carlo Ancelotti. I don't see us saying, you know, yeah, well, let's write this £40 million off. So we are in for the long haul with him. Caveat that with he hasn't had a job longer than 2 years since about 2010. That was part of me worry. But if he believes that he wants to see this project through, and then he wouldn't have signed on if he didn't believe in the project. But I'm all for it. I think, you know, the only thing I think about, and I think and obviously this is Usmanov at this time is not on the table, I would say.
Yeah,
but he could potentially be. But Everton have got a long way to go to turn the squad over because of the ills of the past. Still, that summer of 2017 really did set us back a long time because we've bought players who were unable to shift. Now people will go, "Oh, I don't like this player Brands has signed," but you know, if you don't like, I don't know, Lucas Dean or whatever, I know a lot of people do, obviously, but Lucas Dean, Everton will be able to sell him at a profit at this point quite easily. So that's the difference between buying your Morgan Schneiderlins and your Theo Walcotts and buying your Lucas Deans. That's the difference. We'll be able to sell them for a profit, get money for them. And I think that's the part of the plan. I think Carlo will need to buy. I think Carlo and Marcel work well because Carlo Ancelotti's always worked under. Okay, so at Juventus, Juventus he worked under Luciano Moggi, who's very famous. He got Sampdoria to the title in 1992, and was very good. Obviously, he was very involved with referees also, but he was a great director of football. Silvio Berlusconi, and Adriano Galliani at AC Milan, Florentino Perez, who's obviously famous for being the man at Real Madrid, and Uli Hoeneß and Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, and I think they've got. He also had Willy Sagnol as his assistant, didn't he, at Bayern? So he's had, all the way through his career, he's had people who've helped him with transfers. Now, I know there's a lot of things that Carlo says he wants this man. I don't think Carlo's that type of manager. I think Carlo says, I need this type of player. Him and Brands will give him a list, they'll go over the player and they'll select the player as there. And I think that'll help Brands, because I think with Silva, I don't think Silva was his choice. I think he was given the option not to take Silva, but I don't think Ancelotti would be here without him and Brands having that discussion and having that chat. So I think they are on the same page. I think Brands will be particularly happy with him. So I think the project, the pieces of the project are there for this next 4 years. Yeah. It's just bringing it all together. But I think it is going to take time. I don't expect us to be challenged for the title next year, for example. No. Don't get me wrong, Leicester did it. You never know, I suppose, touch wood and all that. But You know, it's just going to take a bit of time. I think the academy thing, you won't see the fruits of that, unfortunately, in Carlo's time, because it takes a while to get the fruits. You'll see good players come through the academy, but to get to that style to flow through, where you have the player development, you need 4 or 5 years of doing that. City started in 2012 before Pepe even arrived. That was part of the thing in enticing them, is that we're going to have these players ready eventually that can play your style. And I think Liverpool are getting to that point with the academy now, where the players are now playing Klopp's style.
4 years though.
You never know, and Carlo's he's just turned, is he 60, is he?
60 now, yeah.
So, you know,
and he's got a 4.5-year deal. So.
You never know, you might see 8 years, whatever, 9 years.
But I look and see, because I'm reading this book, at the moment, but he does talk about that, and he talks about wanting another long-term project. Yeah. And at the time he wrote the book, he'd just gone to Bayern. So, you know, but the problem he'd had was,
he's at massive
jobs
clubs,
like Real Madrid is a 2-year job.
If you don't win something,
job.
yeah.
PSG, he couldn't believe he got sacked from PSG. When he went to PSG, they hadn't won a league for 20 years. And he went there.
It's a weird club, isn't it?
But him and Zlatan built that club to what it is.
Well, yeah, they got their names attached to the project.
You know,
he
moved on and went to Real Madrid and won La Decima there. And, fantastic record he's got in the Champions League. So he's certainly a manager with a top pedigree. And now he's at a club that'll allow him to get a bit like when he went to Milan. When he went to Milan, he was able to shape that club, and he had some world-class players, of course, he did, and he had to fit them in. But he was responsible for the Christmas tree formation. He was responsible for creating Andre Pirlo's role. You know, Pirlo was a number 10, not getting in the team at Milan when he went there.
He saw him at Brescia. He went on loan to Brescia, and the manager at Brescia had experimented with him as a 6, and Carlo thought, I'll have a bit of that. As soon as he came back, you're the number 6. Well, and then he built the midfield round.
In his book, he talks about it and said he had a chat with Pirlo, and other people were saying, I don't know.
Well, he played front with Baggio for Brescia when he first went there, and then he changed it round.
He became a register, didn't he, through it? So, you know, created that role. So he's obviously a very, very clever manager. And like I say, and the other thing, what I'd say as well, in terms of how it can quickly change, 2 players can transform a team. You know, Liverpool, we see him at Liverpool.
The old Peter Reid, Andy Gray.
Well, yeah, well, if you want to use an Everton analogy, if you want to use Leicester's analogy,
Alisson
you'd have
Van Dijk,
and Mahrez. If you want to use Liverpool, Van Dijk and Alisson, turn them from being a team that was good for challenging for the top 4 to being world champions and looking likely to win the Premier League this year. So, though, if you can get them, they can change it. Everton are backed with money. The issue Everton have got at the moment, like you've just said, is we've got too many players.
It's the ills of the past, yeah.
Koeman and Wilshere that we need to shift for FFP-wise, for wages, you know, Premier League. Now, people quote FFP and go, we're dangerously close and with this, that and the other. Everton could choose to just take the fan.
In the initial first instance, yes, you take the fan.
First time you're done, you can just take the fan.
The second instance, though, is so Milan did that this year. So what Milan did is you had a ban the second time around. But what Milan did is, we'll take it a year early. In the year you have the ban, you load up on players and spend. Get into Europe, it offsets the amount. Unfortunately, Milan are going to fall farther, and they're going to be banned for Europe for a couple of years now. But that's how you do. And you can get around things like that. You know, football's built like that. I think Everton don't need to be. I wouldn't like Everton to be in hundreds of millions of debt, though. I want us to be. You need to be. You know, I know fans say we don't care about the finances, but Everton needs to be self-sufficient. You know, when we go into Brownlee Moor, we don't want to be relying on money. You know, on owners' money. We want to be able to spend the money. You know, obviously, it'd be great if you could spend 300 million every season. But you can't. You need owners want to see profits at the end of the day.
But the other thing with that is you're building a team, aren't you? And the more players you buy, like you mentioned Luca Dean before, but players like Richarlison as well.
Yeah.
If you buy 3 of them, we've said this before, if you buy 3 of them and 1 of them you have to sell after 3 years.
That's the nature.
And he doubles your money or whatever.
Coutinho,
then off you go. Liverpool, that's how Liverpool got to where they were, selling their best players and loading up. And Klopp's come out now and said, Klopp and Michael Edwards, you know, there was a story yesterday saying they're not interested in people like Mbappe and Jadon Sancho. They want to buy more players like Minamino and turn them into stars.
You do, because that's what you're making money then, and let's be honest with you,
that's at your club.
Minamino's also Japanese, so that helps a lot as well. But
it's also because it's about being self-sufficient. The problem is you've got to get to a stage where you are self-sufficient, and the money gets you to that stage because you buy players who drag you up the league. We've just seen Chelsea yesterday posting losses of 100 million, despite Roman Abramovich putting $250 million in last season of his own money.
Luckily,
and
they got
they
the
still
Champions League
lost
offset
100 million.
now. But I had a debate on Twitter with Ollie Kay, who's obviously a very famous writer, and I think this is what the problem with people is they don't see the differences between clubs and the different situations they're in, because every club's different. So obviously they go, oh, look at Leicester the last couple of years. Well, Leicester have still got a lot of the players who won the title for them. So when they were adding young players to that squad, they were adding them to experienced players who won things.
Before,
Whereas Everton have bought players from Barcelona or Arsenal. I know people have been critical of brands of this, but we're trying to build a base of a side that's got who used to playing to high standards. Now, don't be wrong, people go, oh, well, this player won't get us the Champions League. Maybe not. We're buying them at an age where they're still developing. We'll see where we see. People go, well, can't start signing more 19-year-olds. I think we've signed one in Moise Keane. That's about it. Most of them have been 21 to 26. So I think we'll see the fruition of Brand's plan over the next 2-3 seasons. Yes, and we hopefully will. Instead of having to buy, people, the level of transfer we have over the last couple of years, maybe Ancelotti will help us to go, let's go to Ajax and get an Ajax player. Maybe he'll be able to go to Leverkusen and get them type of signings, and that'll be a bit more of a draw, and hopefully that makes the difference. And I think we've just got to be patient. I know people are thinking, oh, let's go and spend 300 million this summer on James Rodriguez. He's 29 with injury problems. Don't be wrong, he's a wonderful player. He's never played in the Premier League before. That's a massive risk. He could be great. He could be, the player that wins everything for all I know. I'm just saying, from a perspective of you're looking at the big picture, he might not be the right person. But if Carlo wants him, I still think Brands would want him. Myself, I don't think Brands would agree to that transfer, but we'll see on that front. I think Everton fans need to temper their expectations slightly on the players we're going to be getting, but I think we'll still sign some good players.
We've got to just back the manager. The club have got to back him, and I think they will. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be here. I think he's
not going to come in and go, "Well, Carlo, we're going to be having a 4-year rebuild. We're going to sell a lot of players, and you have to start again." Exactly.
He's not coming for that. So he will have money to spend. There's no question about it. But I think the fans just have to back the project at the moment and just realise that, it's frustrating.
It's horrible.
And it's rubbish, but it's ongoing, and he's only just started. Let's see what him and Brands are like together before we want to burn everything down.
Well, let's have a look at, by the end of the season, we'll have Gbamin back, so you'll be seeing him again. You'll start seeing the crumbs of what are going to be the future side at the end of the season, because a lot of the players will be back. Don't think Gomez will quite make it, I don't think. But you can just, hopefully we'll sign a midfielder in this, on loan at least in this window. Hopefully you'll start thinking next season. We're excited. I know that happened last season, but I don't think a few of us did say we were papering over the cracks last season. But with Carlo,
put the right people in places though.
But I think whether you like me, I wasn't keen on Carlo at the time. I'm very keen on him now. I think that he is both a safe pair of hands and someone who can push Everton on.
Yeah. And that's all you can ask, isn't it?
So it covers both grounds. It's not a risk as much as other people would have been.
Let's see where we go with it, then. Fingers crossed. Right, in part 3, we will be previewing Everton versus Brighton at Goodison Park on Saturday. See you in a minute.
Bring it on.
Thanks for downloading the Toffee TV podcast, but did you know we put all our shows out as podcasts? Head over to patreon.com/Toffee TV EFC and you'll find all the latest shows available as podcasts exclusively for Patreon subscribers. So if you need to find all the latest Everton news, conversations, stats, match previews and match reviews as easily downloadable podcasts at your convenience, head over to Patreon.
Welcome back to part 3 of the Toffee TV podcast. Me and El Piv, Andy, previewing Everton versus Brighton at Goodison at the weekend. Big game.
It is, because there's going to be an expectation of us to win, and Goodison Park. But they're a good side, Brighton. Let's be honest, I think they've been overrated slightly this season at times by people. I know Potter's done well to turn them round from being a low block, very defensive team under Chris Hughton to now being a bit more free flowing. But they've been inconsistent this season. So they've got some nice players, but I think Everton. It depends on the team selection, but I think Everton, should have a very good chance of winning the game. But put it that way.
Yeah, it'll be a tough game. It always is against Brighton.
It's no easy games in the Premier League.
Who they are. No, that's right. And Graham Potter has got them playing a bit more football. But there's 2 reasons why we have to beat these at the weekend. The first one is as a reaction to the debacle last Sunday. And the second one is for the way we were cheated down at the Amex
True.
in November with that penalty and all of that in injury time. So Everton have got to be fired up for this. Get out there. They'll be re-energised because we'll have had 6 days since our last game, so we should be able to get some energy levels back up. And I think if the energy's there, then we'll be able to do well against Brighton. You know, our front three, whether it's Walcott, Richarlison, Dom, whether it's a 4-4-2, whether it's 2 wide players.
I don't know if Iwobi's going to be back this weekend or not either.
Don't think he'll be back. He was back on the grass though with the ball. As soon as he posted an Instagram thing, didn't he? But I don't know. We do miss him when people criticise him. He's one of those players that when he's not playing, you realise how much.
I think it's funny that people criticising me because and Bernard as well, because the games they look bad in with Douglas Ferguson's games, and not disrespecting Douglas Ferguson, we played a very basic style of football. They need to touch the ball 30 or 40 times a game to look, to be at the best. It doesn't really suit them, and they still worked hard off the ball.
He was brilliant against Chelsea.
So you've got to look at, you've got to take it with, and he had a really bad game. It was against, he had an absolute.
Man U.
He was horrific
against United.
He was horrific.
That's football, isn't it? Listen, that's what it's about, getting a level of consistency.
I think he has to win the. I think even from the summer, he still has to win the fans over because a lot of fans saw him as not a great Arsenal player because of what Arsenal fans said. So I think he's got. But
also, if Everton would never have gone for Zaha,
it's expected. This is the thing. Yeah, it'd be like if we ended up with Moyes after flirting with Ancelotti, wouldn't I guess?
Well, I think he'll do all right. I mean, it's a tough. I mean, the one thing you'd say about Everton since Carlo Ancelotti took over, Everton have had more shots, 50 shots, than any other team in the Premier League. So that's encouraging. You know, certainly I know the majority of them came against Burnley and Newcastle.
Struggled to beat teams like that in the season.
Still had quite a few against Man City as well. So that's good. You know, when Everton have the last 15 home games, we've had 9 wins, 3 draws and 3 defeats. So, and 2 of those defeats came on the run, didn't he? Sheffield United and Man City. So we've got to be up for this right from the word go. This is, it's a game that if Everton can win at the weekend, Brighton are a point behind us in the Premier League, and it's about putting gaps between.
Yeah, it is.
If you can put a gap between, the bottom half of the table and certainly the bottom 6, you can relax a little bit and play a bit more football. And there's a lot of games this weekend where it's top half v bottom half, and there's a lot of the bottom half teams are away. So there's a couple like Bournemouth v Watford, which is a real 6-pointer on Sunday, Big Eddie. Against Big Nudge. There's but in general there's a lot of teams who are near the top playing teams near the bottom. So if Everton could get the victory, there could be a gap again, a pressure release, whereas you're looking and going, well, it's 9 points now and it's this and it's that. So we've got to really make sure we can win our own games. We've got 5 very winnable fixtures now, in the next 5 games, given we just had a tough run of games. So if Everton can take maybe 11 points out of those 15, 3 home wins and 2 draws, something like that away, even though all 5 are very winnable, then we'll be in a really good position coming towards the end of February, where we'll be right on the tails of everyone going for Europe still, and the pressure will kind of be off, and hopefully Carlo Ancelotti, and Ped pointed out yesterday there's a couple of breaks in there as well.
Yeah, there's an international break, definitely.
There's an FA Cup break now, because we've
got the winter break.
And there's the winter break. So, and if, well, no, I was going to say if United get through, that's off, but the United aren't getting through, so I'm still playing there. But he's going to have more time on the training ground. That'll hopefully give more time for Gabaman to get back involved in the squad. It'll give more time, hopefully, if we bring in a midfielder on loan,
settle in,
integrate into the team. So, this is why, for me, this game at the weekend is a massive one. There has to be a reaction. We've seen a reaction after we lost at Liverpool last time. We had Duncan took over, we had Chelsea a couple of days later at home, and we come out and swarmed all over them, and we beat them 3-1. It could have been more. We were outstanding that day, and we have to produce that kind of display at the weekend. If we swarm all over Brighton at the weekend, we'll beat them as well, and then everyone will feel better about themselves. And then there's another week until we go to West Ham, so again another week on the training ground, another week to get players like Iwobi fully fit and ready to go, Bernard fitter, and all of these people who might be carrying knocks, get them ready to go.
People just need a break, really. Let's be honest. A lot of hard games, and Duncan had them working extremely hard over those 3 games. And I think that's why there was a lot of little muscle injuries, because let's be honest, they weren't fit under Marco Silva.
No,
I had to get a dig in every couple of
minutes on Marco. I think Marco was too much ball work, and sometimes you've
well,
got
Roberto Martinez was the same. Yeah, the same issues. Yeah, I think Francesco Mori said it, didn't he, about the shorter training sessions, more intensity, because you are doing those short bursts. I think that's the prevailing thought in football at the moment. So at least someone's there thinking about it anyway, because that's a big plus. But yeah, I think once we do have a little bit of a break, Carlo does get to work on the training ground. You're going to see better movement. You're going to see better positional play. You're going to see more different patterns of play, especially with the way we work at the back, where he's got the hybrid. People have called it 3-4-3. It's not really. It's just where one man goes up. Yeah. So you three goes to three at the back. Get Mason on the angle to play diagonals and stuff like that. So you'll see better working at that, because I think in the short time he had, it worked quite well, but I think it'll get even better and better and better, because obviously we're creating chances. We need to just create more quality chances, and I think we'll get there
and take them.
I think we've got the players in the squad to be certainly a good side. You look at Wolves this season. Wolves are a good side. They play their system very well, but Everton are probably a more talented squad on paper, definitely 100%. So
they're just really assured that
they've been under the manager, haven't they, for 3 years now, and the players are not much change. They probably need a couple of additions, really. Yeah. But saying
they haven't had any change. Really,
what's good about them, and we'll praise Wolves, and this is they've proved that you don't need a massive squad to play in the Europa League Thursday, Sunday, and do stuff. You know what I mean? I know they start the season poorly, but since then, I know they've drawn a lot of games, to be fair, but
they've won the same as us, won 7 like us, and they're 5 points ahead of us, because they've got the
drop points. Yeah, they just drop.
Well, the big challenge for us was to kind of do what Duncan did, which was turn defeats into draws,
5 points,
and turn draws into wins.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what Wolves have done. Wolves have done that right from the off. The games that they weren't going to win, they made sure they held on and got something in, and that's what we should have done under Marco Silva. But it is what it is now. And going into this one, just very quickly, Brighton, who are you going to pick out as people to watch?
It depends. It depends. Well, usually I go Neil Maupay because I like his aggressiveness. Now, hopefully it's against Mason Holgate, because I think Holgate's able to deal with it better.
Yeah.
If it's Michael Keane, that caused problems when Brighton played us in November, wasn't it? Yeah. He's Aaron Moyes particularly. I don't know if Aaron Moyes playing on Saturday though, but Aaron Moyes is a good player. Yeah, they've got some good players. I think Leandro Trossard, when he's in the mood, I call him Eden Hazard light. He's very similar in the type of work he does off the wing, cuts to the side, creates problems. If Everton can keep him quiet, if he plays, sometimes he doesn't. I think they're the 3 danger men. Yeah. I think we'd have some joy with them at the back. I think Dan Burn going out means probably Bernardo will slot in at left back, who's a bit more athletic. Yeah. So that probably doesn't help us greatly, because obviously we'd Dan Burn, though big, if you got Richarlison running on him, it would have caused some problems, but we'll see. But yeah, I think Neil Maupay, I've been quite impressed with this season's aggressiveness. He's always in and around the box. Yeah, good player.
There you go. Everton v Brighton, Goodison this weekend. Let's get the 3 points. Let's banish Sunday from our memories and get a bit of a feel-good factor going again, because heaven knows we need it.
Don't want to upset the Finch fans either. Nope. I think the players are on notice, aren't they?
No, we don't want that. We want them lads to enjoy.
Don't have to Marcel Brandstad to all John Wick on them, you know what I
mean? That's what it is. Thanks for listening. Make sure you give Toffee TV a subscribe on YouTube if you want more of this kind of chat, only the video version. If you're watching the video version because you're a patron, hello and goodbye. Ped will be back next week, and the 3 will go from a 2 to a 3, a 3-man midfield next week.
Maybe an idea.
There you go. See you later.
Today.